Echessa, good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you, Eric.
Happened your killer kitu happens, okay? Including giving you your own plan and telling you how you can actualize your own plan. You see the website? See that? It's plan.icelion.co.ke, okay? They say planning for personal growth and the joy of a successful and secure life is an opportunity for everyone. And ICA Lion is here to help you do just that. That is for personal growth. I'm sure, Peter, as you founded this company, as you were thinking about the company and what you wanted to do with it, you were thinking, okay, I've got a plan. I'd like this to happen. It was also for your own personal benefit. You're not doing this entirely for the benefit of humanity and then you sit back and you don't enjoy the benefits of it, right?
Absolutely.
It's to enjoy the fruit. So talk to ICA Lion. They'll help you now put in the money that you're making from this company into that. Then also, as you think of trading borderless across the continent, EcoBank is the one bank that you need to think about. It's in 35 different African countries.
35.
And outside of Africa, it's in the UAE, in China, in the UK, in France. See?
39.
Imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that, there's seamless banking, seamless connectivity. You operate your one account. Here it's in shillings. And you also have your company on the other side of, let's say, pick a country in Africa.
In Africa, South Africa.
You are operating.
South Africa tomorrow,
you're also operating in South Africa. You have your branch in South Africa, and you have a RAND account in South Africa, and you're thinking of how to transact. You don't have to think of, okay, now first convert RAND to shilling, RAND to dollar, dollar to shilling. No, you just operate seamlessly. Their back end is strong enough, seamlessly just does the conversions for you. And wherever you are, you're here and you're paying your guys in SA, or you're in SA and you're paying your guys here. Seamless as well.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Doesn't
Yep.
it?
Yep.
Yes.
They say a better way, better Africa.
Huh.
Higher. One of those African countries, which is within South Africa for a greater part. So how many countries are neighbor South Africa? Many. If you consider Lesotho also be neighbors.
Botswana, Zim, Namibia.
Very good.
Quite a number.
Very good. So think of a country that borders South Africa and Mozambique.
Mm-hmm. Zim?
No.
Botswana.
Another one. Mm-hmm. Another one.
You mentioned it earlier.
Swaziland.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Mm-hmm. That one. It changed name. It now has a different name.
Eswatini.
That's the
Eswatini.
one. Yes. CT is telling us the
I need CT to
is
say
silent.
It.
Listen to how it's called.
Well, exactly. It's written Eswatini, but it is. You begin with an S. The E is almost silent, so it's Swatini.
Oh, I didn't know that. How do you
That's
know
how it's
that?
pronounced. I didn't either until I started looking at the proverbs, and I was informed. It's written Eswatini, but it's pronounced Swatini.
Uh-huh.
Yes,
Swatini.
You learn something every day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Now the proverb. A man who says it cannot be done should not interrupt the man doing it.
A man who says it cannot be done should not interrupt the man who's doing it. Interpret this one for us. What's your interpretation?
My interpretation is very simple. I mean, anything human, anything that you see, there's nothing impossible, basically. If you can't do it, there's somebody who will do it. So don't get in their way. Yeah.
You put it very well. You put it very well, because it is true. The fact that you can't do something, it means you can't do it. It doesn't mean it can't be done.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Somebody else might be able to do that very thing that you cannot do. Yes.
Step aside.
No, just step aside gently, please.
Absolutely.
Yes. Gently. Not this stand in the corner and don't look back thing. No, just step aside. You might learn something. And when you step aside, watch. You might learn how that person is doing it, and then you might also be able to do it. Yes.
True.
Borderless tracking and safe track. What is that?
Yeah, technology companies. Borderless tracking was registered to do a lot of public sector jobs, and specifically We did one major job, but that ended in 2019 with government policy change. Safe Track specifically just deals with the private sector. The main technology is in the field of IoT, Internet of Things. But now we've gone further and we're using technology to solve day-to-day problems in the country and in the continent. Yeah.
Tracking, when you hear tracking, and it's not TRUCK, it's TRACK. It's we still put it into logistics. That you are sort of like tracking the movement of your fleet of vehicles, or you're tracking the what your staff are doing. Is that it?
That is the basics. That's the beginning when you say tracking. But when you start talking Internet of Things, you're talking about interaction of devices. I mean, when I take my remote control and point at the TV, that's an interaction of one device to the other. If I'm here and I'm able to control what's in my house through GSM network, that's Internet of Things. So you use that to then go further, not just track and trace, but you start looking at the interaction and the movement and the security of assets, which is what we do. So we don't do vehicle tracking per se. We actually don't do that. If we do fleets, vehicle tracking, we do only for fleet owners. What we specialize in,
Why?
Because our kind of technology is a bit more pricey to be able to do for individual cars.
Are you suggesting that people who own individual cars can't afford your tracking device?
They can afford it, but that's not our target market. It's not because they can't, but it's not our target market. Because we came to solve a problem that many people are not able to provide
A solution for.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Personally or the company?
The company, because you have told us what you don't do.
So what we do, we take technology from around the world. We don't innovate. Remember, in Kenya, we don't have R&D budgets, so we don't innovate. What we do is we take technology around the world, domesticate it, and then commercialize it. So let me take an example of what Borderless tracking was doing. The regime of customs movement of cargo on the Northern Corridor was such that before 2010, when you had cargo, a container, for example, you had to get a customs officer, you had to get police to escort you. It used to take 5 to 7 days for a container to leave Mombasa and reach Malaba. Now, what was a customs officer for is to ensure that the cargo is not diverted. And the police is to ensure that the cargo is safe. And we said, if we use technology to provide a solution to this, where we provide visibility of the cargo to KRA, then they don't have to be there because the cargo will not be diverted. If we are able then to provide electronic security on the container, then we don't need a policeman because we will know if the container is opened. So using simple technology, GPS, which is normal, everybody has a phone, you know your location, we use GPRS for communication. And we then are able to put on electronic and RFID. RFID is the technology that you find in supermarkets. When you take an item, you don't pay for it, you come out, it makes a lot of noise. That's the most common. So we attach that onto a container. So you know the location of the container. As it moves, you'll know it in real time. Number two, if the container door is open, because you've locked it electronically, you will know it's been opened and then you're able to act. So we then were able to eliminate the issue of escorts and personnel, saving costs and time, and made the Northern Corridor a very competitive corridor. Then later on, of course, the neighboring countries were able to adopt it. Tanzania was second to adopt it. The Central Corridor actually was involved in Tanzania as well on the launch of the electronic cargo tracking system. So we do that kind of thing. We take technology and we provide solutions that address our problems.
What changed in 2019?
Government policy. I mean, we were private companies providing solutions to people to comply. So we would charge and we get paid and they comply and KRA was happy, everybody was happy. Government said now they want to do it themselves through Kenya Revenue Authority. So
What?
So now
So they want to charge the people themselves
they
or
financed
provide
it.
the technology.
They provided the technology for free.
Okay.
And since then, it's done by Kenya Revenue Authority.
So government came in as a competition, and then using regulation, they outcompeted you with regulation.
They didn't compete with us. They actually, because we were licensed by them. So when they take over, it means you stop being licensed. So you really don't compete at all. Yeah.
So then what spaces did that then create for you if they were taking over that aspect of the operation?
Now, using the same technology, then we went to the private sector. So we go to manufacturers, for example. If you manufacture margarine and you want the movement of margarine, you're distributing margarine across the country. You know, there's a lot of theft of products across the logistics sector. So we you use the technology to provide security, visibility of cargo. Particularly, we started off with valuable cargo. Most prominently, sugar, rice, coffee, and high-value manufactured goods. But now we do it right across all products. So that was the formative years of Borderless SafeTrack. 2016, when SafeTrack started, we had foreseen that the government was angling to take over, so we said, let's start the private sector.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're here today, so we talk about fuel expenditure and reducing fuel expenditure, carbon emissions, and the thinking into the future. One of the big things that we're talking about now in the country is, climate change and what we need to do to stop climate change. And one of the big contributors in climate change, we've said, is vehicles and planes and ships, wherever they are. They're contributing to the emissions.
Yeah, this is our latest technology to deploy in the country. Now, let me first of all be very clear. When I start talking about this, particularly to clients or bodies, they ask me a lot of climate change questions. I'm not an expert on that. I talk about the technology that aids in mitigating climate change effects. So we're looking at the two issues of fuel, how much fuel we use in the country, and the benefits of using less fuel. Of course, one of the biggest benefits is you use less foreign exchange. To do that means there's a lot of mitigation factors that one can take. The second part is that all hydrocarbon engines, they emit a lot of what you call greenhouse gases. Mainly for health purposes, if I take an engine, you will get carbon monoxide emitted, you'll get a lot of nitrogen oxides emitted. Those are very bad for the health. But you also get carbon dioxide, which is not directly bad for the health, but it really has a big effect on global warming and basically climate change. Now, let's look at Kenya. We basically contribute less than 0.1% of the global emissions, but we are suffering, and Kenya, particularly the current government, is at the forefront of climate change. We hosted the Africa Climate Change Summit. The other day there was UNEA. I think it just ended last week and so on. Now we're trying to plug in using technology to mitigate the factors of emissions. The technology we have, as I said, we don't innovate. This is a patented technology from Italy. Very interesting how it works. But we're looking at, first of all, we need to be able to reduce fuel usage. And that technology has been existing for quite a while. We do for all, particularly vehicles and in the transport sector. What we look at is if you've got a fleet of trucks, let's say from Mombasa to Kampala and back, you'll use about 900 liters, 1,000 liters to and fro. Now, if you monitor the usage of the vehicle, the drive with how the vehicle is driven, and then you start using the data that you generate from that to train your drivers to do better, then you start using less fuel. But the savings that we've been able to get to our clients go up to 30, 40%. So first of all, we have to do monitoring so that you know what's going on. We use the same technology that I talked about earlier. So we put in GPS, GPRS, and sensors. Okay? So we put a sensor in the tank, that will tell you the exact volume. What you see on the dash of your vehicle, the fuel gauge, you'll see it from the comfort of your desk. So first of all, you're able then to know. The first thing you do is you're not being lied to about how much fuel the driver has used, because you can tell. And it gives you in volumes. In volume of liters. It doesn't just give you, your vehicle
just looking
tells
at a
you
gauge.
empty. Yes. Mine is always on E because it says enough. Yeah. Yeah. Some people say F. John says F all the time. So that's the first thing that we do. So we give fuel monitoring, and this gives the owners of fleets the fillings, the usage, the driving conditions. So you start gauging which driver is the best, and you can use his method of driving to coach your drivers. Remember, one driver using one bus from here to Mombasa, same conditions as the other driver, same type of bus or same bus, will spend a lot more fuel if they are not very skilled. So that's the first thing you do. You use data to do that. Okay. Now, by monitoring that, we start off by saying, okay, we have now established what your consumption of fuel is. Then we come in with this technology that is cutting edge. A simple mechanical device that does a very simple chemical process. It's been patented that when it shakes, it creates what you call electromagnetism that just breaks the bond. What is fuel? Fuel is a hydrocarbon. CO is the main thing, but that's oxygen and carbon. Now, complete combustion means those molecules separate, and then they attach much better. The carbon molecules attach much better than oxygen, and then you get proper combustion. So you find a new car has no smoke, an older car has a lot of smoke. And diesel cars in Kenya particularly are notorious for smoking. What you're seeing as smoke is unburnt fuel. It consists of various gases and particulate matter that are harmful to people, harmful to the environment, and so on. Now, all the tests we've done and the people that we have actually rolled out for, some of them public sector companies like KPLC, we're now doing KTDA, we've done for Nakuru County, we've done for big companies, logistics companies like AGL, which is formerly Bolloré, Farmer's Choice, Eden Tea, and so on. When we've put in, and we've done we normally do POC first, a proof of concept. So we put in this device, and we run, first of all, without putting in the device. So we measure the usage of fuel and the emissions. And these are measured to international standards because we've got the instruments to do that. So you do what you call a baseline data. We establish the baseline data. What is the data before? And then we put in this device, and then we start monitoring again. Now, the savings on fuel, the highest we've gotten so far was 37%. And this was one matatu, I'll not mention the brand.
Just repeat. Fuel saving of up to 37%.
That was the highest we got.
Meaning 37% of what previously they had actually used was now considered a saving.
Absolutely.
Hey, okay.
And this is because you've put this gadget, this thing that is a mechanical thing that's doing a chemical thing.
Yes. I'll explain how it works later.
No, you told us that chemical thing, the CO, carbon, oxygen, full combustion, efficiency, all that. Please go on.
And
where are you putting it? In the fuel tank?
In the fuel tank.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, right now we install it for how many clients? We're doing some installations at KPLC as we speak right now. The Mombasa, big fleet of about 700 trucks. Our guys are there, they're doing installation. So lowest... Yes,
can I ask? Even as you proceed, it's really good. But is there a negative side to this process?
I'll tell you categorically no, and I'll explain why.
Yes, please.
A lot of the fuel saving solutions that have been in the market they are chemicals which you add in. They can actually repudiate your warranty and change a lot of things. Some of the fuel that you get that really gives you power, like if you go to a Shell Vivo station, they'll give you V-Power. I don't know the formula behind it, but because it's a liquid, I believe what they add in is a liquid to aid combustion. Our device is a mechanical device. It has no electrical connections or anything. Now, what happens is, just like the dynamo of your car, your bicycle, when you ride your bicycle at night, the dynamo does, through motion, it creates light.
It's like a turbine.
Yes. Which is exactly what hydroelectricity is.
Yes.
Water spinning
the wheel and that.
And then
the
you
turbine,
create, yes.
electricity.
So by putting this device in the tank, and we normally install it and just tie it mechanically onto the pump, just to make sure that it doesn't lie down, because what we're looking for is vibration. When you vibrate it, it creates electromagnetism. So we do this even in generators. Smaller generators vibrate a lot. Our own generator, we've got a small strip mall in Kilimani, our own, and we've got a 120 kVA generator. We put in and we've got 23% saving. If the bigger generators don't vibrate much, so we normally would put in an agitator to make sure there's vibration. Just by the process of vibration, it creates electromagnetism. And the patent is that the electromagnetism that is produced targets hydrocarbon molecules, so it separates them. Now, that's a patent. Yeah? And that's what works. We don't know how it was patented, but we are commercializing it here. So because you're just putting in that, and it's just breaking down the hydrocarbon, it has a lot of positives. The first positive, of course, better combustion. Second positive, better combustion means you'll use less fuel. Now, if you have a diesel engine, what happens when you have a lot of smoke? Your injectors get clogged, so you have to do service quite often. So it does, now you're burning better, so you actually start cleaning up your engine. And at the same time, of course, you're emitting a lot less. So it does not change, because we don't touch anything on the vehicle. We do not pour anything into the vehicle. It does not change the composition of the structure of the vehicle. So we have not had any side effect or any negative things that have been said about this.
Can this thing be done at the point of refinery, such that all fuel that comes to us has already been broken down? Maybe vibrate it in the refinery, break it down, then give it to us.
That's a product. Eric, that part, that's the thing, chemical engineering that we don't have knowledge of, which is why when you get fuel like V-Power, the famous V-Power, I do not know what they have done to make it have higher octane levels than normal premium. But possibly, yes.
Okay. Let's take a break. We'll continue this conversation shortly at 29 minutes to 10. Peter Echessa is the founder and CEO of Borderless Trucking and SafeTruck Limited. We are talking about fuel efficiency and what that does in terms of right? Just getting to understand what then we are talking about in terms of fuel efficiency and the environment and saving the environment, and also as a business, saving that shilling. Keep it here. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The man who looks at a beautiful girl and doesn't talk to her will end up serving lunch at her wedding.
Aye, City. Do like that.
My father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man?
Ameua panya.
Small mammal, big mammal.
Mtu atamshinda. I mean, I don't answer. What are they
How
saying?
are we comparison? I mean, you kill a mouse.
What are they saying?
What they're saying is, my father has killed a mouse. Will he fail to kill a man? Name, surprise. Someone's name.
The name surprised you?
No, the name is surprise.
No, what am I saying? I'm from Nigeria, man. I met somebody called I Believe. So
See?
Your name is I Believe? Yes, my name is I Believe. But that's the short form. I said, excuse me? I said, yes, my name is I Believe. So what's the full name? I believe in the goodness of God.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, so let's see what happens as we come out of traffic hour this morning. Just a little bit of that left as you come off of Waiyaki Way and the Thika Superhighway. It's been a busy morning, but then getting out into the city now looks okay. Landys Road is still packed. Looks like it'll be that way for a minute. And on Uhuru Highway, there's traffic going through towards the city and then out towards Westlands. Apart from that, we've not done too badly with traffic this morning. Keeping an eye on things through the day. Spice FM KE on X.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings.
Okay, so you're a big company.
94.4 Spice.
Vehicles, and you're using a lot of fuel every week, every month, and you're looking at your budget and you're thinking, oh my goodness. And because of the fluctuation in the exchange rate, and also because the OPEC guys have sit back and they decide tunataka kukulia kidogo, price of fuel keeps going up. So how do you address that? How do you make sure that there's benefit to your company? There's technology that's available that can help you with this, and that's what Peter Echessa is here to tell us about. He's here to tell us about what you're doing already in the market, and you're doing this for big fleets. When you say that you have realized a saving of a 30%, it's 30% saving on the amount of fuel consumed, okay? Not necessarily 30% saving on your costs. Is that true?
True.
Okay.
Before and after.
So why can't it be 30% savings on cost?
There's so many moving factors. So let me first, and because we're talking about fuel monitoring and fuel savings and emissions reduction. So we deploy two technologies to do this. Number one, we have to monitor the fuel usage and fuel consumption. So we put in fuel monitoring system before we install the savings device, which is why we say once you start monitoring, because we don't want to get data given to us by people. We want to get data given to us by sensors in terms of volume of fuel, filled in, amount of fuel used by the vehicle. So we establish the baseline data, put it in. So for example, if your truck that delivers manufactured goods to Kisumu consumes 40,000 shillings worth of fuel, before we put in our device, it will tell us how much. For example, it will say it's consuming 16. I mean, it's giving you 3 kilometers per liter, okay? Or it's giving you 4 kilometers per liter. Then we put in this device. So we get that data not from the human data that is collected manually, but from sensors. We will do that for a week or two. Then we put in the combustion optimizer. Using the same measuring tool, we will then be able to get the consumption. So you will find that when you do that, you may get now the increase from 4 kilometers per liter to possibly 6-7 kilometers per liter. So there's a simple back of the envelope calculation that we normally do based on the data that we get from sensors. Now, when you do that, it means, one, you now have visibility as the owner of a fleet of how much fuel is being used, not what you're being told is being used. Two is that you can tell what the consumption is before and after. So it will directly translate, of course, to savings. If you're using 40,000 shillings, now you're going to use less because you're consuming less liters. So in a way, maybe I contradict myself here. In a way, yes, it translates to reduction of cost. Because if you're consuming less, of course, you're then paying less. And that's just how it works.
Let me ask, when you say fuel, is it only petrol or is it also diesel?
Anything hydrocarbon means petrol, diesel,
paraffin, you name it.
Anything hydrocarbon, yes. And anything any engine that burns. what we call internal combustion engine. Generator, boat, generator, vehicles.
You know where I'm going with this? Trains.
Absolutely. Biggest consumer, big polluters.
Because
Absolutely.
if I'm looking at what we have, say for instance, the rail transportation, and given what it does and given what it's expected to do, and given the frequency with which it actually travels and the amount of fuel that it consumes, then I look at the planes and I look at the frequency with which planes fly and just the amount of money that is spent on fuels. Comes the question now, do we have people who are in the airline business using this gadget? Do we have people who are in the rail transport business using this gadget?
Not in Kenya, but in Italy and Brazil, railway, yes. And airlines are a bit more difficult because to be able to access the airline tanks, a plane, is a bit tricky.
It is.
But basically, this gadget works on any hydrocarbon fuel, which means whatever, whether it's jet fuel, paraffin, kerosene, diesel, whatever it is. Okay? And any engine then that burns this improves its combustion capability.
Okay.
And this is where we get the percentage by measuring the emissions before. Like for vehicle, it's very easy to measure the emissions. We use opacity test. There's a meter that you put before, but the effect is instant. If we have like your generator, I'm sure you've got generators here. If we come, and we're willing to come and do it because we do POC, we will measure before. You get certified, your people, your engineers will certify the emissions at this in terms of carbon dioxide per whatever it is. And we will install in 20 minutes when it starts running, you will see, first of all, less smoke if it was smoking a lot, and you will see the reduction in the meter. And you can bring other experts and you'll get the same effect. So it's instantaneous because the breakdown starts immediately the device starts vibrating. The bigger the tank, the bigger the device. If the tank is very big, we put in more devices.
So what we are saying is that essentially emissions which would cause some kind of harm to the environment then would either be reduced or done away with completely.
We can't do away with them completely. Okay. We reduce them significantly.
Okay.
The highest we've gotten was 95, but we normally, when you check what we're giving out there, we're saying 80%.
Okay.
Now, let's look at, let me just take the example of Kenya on carbon emissions because this is important. And this is an area, 58% of emissions in Kenya are caused by vehicles. 58%. Now, one passenger car in Kenya, I'm talking about Kenya, will emit about 1 ton of carbon dioxide a year.
So, sorry?
One. You like your car?
Personal.
Yes.
1 ton.
1 ton equivalent per year, a whole year.
That's a lot.
Average.
That's a lot.
For a truck, it's about 4.5 tons. Now, what is the biggest and the best way to sequester emissions, particularly carbon dioxide? It's trees. Vegetation. Now, 1 tree in a year will absorb about 25 kgs of carbon dioxide. Because what does it do? It takes that and releases oxygen.
How big must the tree be?
That's a full-grown, of course. That's why I say on average. Okay. The bigger the foliage,
25 kilos.
Yes. Okay. The bigger the foliage, the better the absorption. It will go up to 40, but average is about 25. So if you talk about 1 ton per car per year, 1 tree, 25 kg per year, how many trees do you need? 50 for 1 car.
50 trees to then be able to absorb this
offset.
Offsets this. Okay.
Or 1 personal car.
1 personal car, 50 trees.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Now, if you're talking about a truck, then you talk about 3 or 4 times that.
Okay.
Because you're talking about 4.5 tons per year. All right. Now, on average, again, acreage. How many trees can you have, full-grown trees in an acre? Worldwide is between 40 and 100 trees. So how many acres would you need per car to be able to offset the emissions that come up?
You know, suddenly this billion tree project that the president has is beginning to make sense.
Yes.
No, seriously.
Yes.
Because I'm beginning to think, that arithmetic, millions won't do. Hundreds of millions definitely won't do. So billions, we may be able to start scratching the surface of this thing.
Now, Kenya's coverage, and I don't have accurate data, but the last data that I saw, I think, was 2019. Forest coverage was about 12 to 15 million acres.
Okay.
Yeah, about. I'm not. Please don't quote me because I don't have.
No, we're not quoting you, but even the percentage of coverage is around that range in terms of percentage.
Yes.
Forest cover in this country, in fact, it's below that.
It's below.
Our forest cover is actually not good.
It's not good.
It's not 10%.
It's less than 10%.
Yeah.
Now, we look at how many cars do we have on Kenyan roads right now? I would say in the region north of 5 million.
There are many.
North of 5 million. Let's take. Yeah. So if I take an average 5 million and I say I need 50 trees to offset the emissions from each car, then you can see how many trees
the entire country will be a forest.
We need about 20 to 30 million acres coverage. We have a coverage of about 12 to 15 million. So this is where we come in and we say, if we are able to reduce the emissions by, let's say, as we say, 80%, because it's proven, we, instead of needing 20 million acres coverage, we need 10 million, which means Kenya can become we can become positive. We can actually achieve the COP26 agreement that we signed up to, which is the goals of 2030. I think I don't have the full details per se because, as I said, I'm not an expert on carbon emissions. But at the same time, if we then we reduce that much on the world stage, we can then start trading in carbon, which is why the president signed the Carbon Trade Act. I think it's going to come into effect soon. So we are saying we are providing technology to reduce emissions. And we're just talking about the effect on the environment. We're not even talking about the effect on the health of people. Because a lot of infants die because of respiratory problems. And that is caused by emissions. 58% of those are caused by cars. We are saying we will reduce this by up to 80%. Proven. We've tested, we've gotten commendation letters, not just from, cabs have tested, Ministry of Transport has done that, public sector bodies have done that, private sector companies are using it. The only
tested?
That has been done under KEBS. Kenya.
KEBS standardizes.
Yes.
Has NEMA done some tests to show that these things that we are talking about are indeed correct?
No, we've not done with NEMA.
Reductions in carbon emissions in terms of the harm to the environment and reductions to the harm to the environment.
That's ongoing, but we've done with the Mechanical Engineer Ministry of Transport, which certified, and we have letters to the effect. So, and when we talk about private sector companies, I've mentioned them. They've tested themselves, they're certified, they're satisfied, and they have given us commendation letters. The only thing is that there's a cost to this. And of course, in any society, there's always a resistance to change and trust, which is what we're building up, which is what we're actually working towards. We're looking to have a few big companies to be able to adopt this. Then they become the leaders to be able to champion this. Because a lot of tree planting is being done. But as I've said, trees are the best sinks for carbon emissions, the best. But to be able to achieve significant reduction and to sequester the carbons, the emissions that are done, you need a lot of trees.
You need too many trees.
Exactly.
You say this is patented technology, proprietary technology from Italy.
Italy.
Is there any other similar technology that's being deployed, that's being used elsewhere?
Not yet, because it's fairly new. But of course, because it's a patent, means the other people who will do it will be paying royalty to the Italian company.
Okay.
So they will be generic, basically. This is the original.
What's the Italian company?
Supertech. It trades under Supertech, but the company is ES something SRL. Italian name I can't pronounce it.
Okay. Have they deployed it elsewhere? In other markets, in Europe, in Italy itself?
across the EU, very big in Brazil. In Africa, several countries, we have been given opportunity that if we reach a mark of 50,000 deployed pieces, they will set up the factory for manufacturing these devices for Africa in Kenya.
How many devices?
50,000. And that we should be able to achieve. I mean, I look at the public sector, for example. How many cars are in the public sector when you talk about parastatals and government? Maybe 200,000-300,000.
Yeah, it's too many.
If we were just to start off with that, the 50,000 is a very small number.
Okay.
No, it is small because my mind went to the disciplined forces.
Yeah.
And my mind went to the police.
Different services.
Yeah, places where they buy large numbers of cars.
Absolutely.
State House.
And big cars,
Does
right? And those huge gas labs.
So you talk about cost being a challenge. What's the cost of this? Because I imagine that if we're talking about emissions on a global scale, and everybody's been drumming this message over and over and over again, that it's something that everybody would rush to buy. But then one thing that would preclude that would be the cost of the thing. So,
all right. Let me first talk about. This device comes in various sizes. It depends on the size of the tank. Yeah. So the smallest device will cost about 35,000. I remember it's a one-off.
For life?
No.
What's the lifespan of the gadget?
8 to 10 years, but we give a warranty of 5 years.
On the same vehicle?
You can actually move it into another vehicle, and it's still as effective.
Okay.
So we're talking about the smallest, about 35,000 Kenya shillings one-off. But the ones we've done, the ROI, you return your investment in the worst has been 6 months, which is one of the best. Because the savings that you have on fuel is so effective that for big trucks, they do it in less than 2 months. But this is what is funny. I mean, every time, the biggest problem is actually change. Second biggest problem is cost. Because we are in a position where there are parties, financial institutions that are saying, if people are ready to adopt, we'll finance it as long as they agree on, we share profit on the savings. The adoption is just because there's resistance to change. There's a lot of other things underlying. I mean, one of the things that happens is when we put in this, recently, we put in another company, and the first thing when we left after 1 week, they told us the device has affected a vehicle, it's not running. So we go and remove it, and we say, now run it. Still, the car had a problem. Then the driver comes and tells us, this car has had a pump problem for the last 4 months. But it was part of the resistance, the pushback. Yeah, because what it does is we're monitoring the usage, and we're giving you data. Some people don't like being monitored. So what they do is they fight back. So that's another challenge that we have. But in terms of adoption, in terms of testing, there's a lot of, everybody that we've dealt with has been very positive. The rollout, we're hoping that the change can be adopted and taken up quickly. For a truck, for example, that normally has a tank of about 200 to 400 liters, we're talking about a one-off cost of 75,000. That's like the biggest. If you go to a generator that has got a big tank, like hospitals and maybe even here you've got an outside tank, then we might want to put in 2 or 3 devices and put in an agitator to do that. So then you'll be talking maybe 150,000 because you have 2 devices. So the highest is 75,000 shillings. And you've got a 5-year warranty. You can transfer it from one engine, one tank to another. It will have the same effect, one vehicle to another. And it's got a lifespan of 8 to 10 years.
Peter, the cost is not the issue then. 75,000 shillings for somebody who's running round-the-clock operations, say on a generator or on a truck, it's not much.
And make back your money in a month or 2?
Yeah. Let's even say you go to 6 months, right? It's not much.
It's not even 6 months.
So what is this other barrier
Yes.
that you're facing? Because it cannot be the cost.
The biggest barrier.
And it cannot also be the staff. Because if the management of the company sees the sense and they can see the direct change at their bottom line, everybody will fall in line.
Now, I'm just sharing with you the feedback and the pushback we've had. So we did for 2 Matatu circles, and I'll mention them. And the director of one sat with us. We were giving him our readings of 19% savings on fuel. He had 21, and we said no. Because he was recording manually, our device was giving us 19%. He's got about 400 vehicles, the minibuses. And when we now push for deployment and told him we'll give you a discount because of volumes, he said I can't afford it, despite the fact that the savings would have been within maybe 2 months. Second part,
couldn't afford because of he's looking at 400 at a go.
But we were willing to do lease as well, pay as you go. And we even have offered, we say, the savings you get, we take 50%, you keep 50% for the first 1 year. And then after that, you enjoy it for the next 9 years. So the biggest challenge is resistance to change. So I agree with you, it's not cost, but it's also a factor. But the main challenge is resistance to change. In terms of proven efficacy, that we've done, and anybody who comes, we tell them, don't pay first. Let's do it for you. Be happy, then talk to us. We're doing a lot of that, yes, but the adoption is still slow, but because it's fairly new.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see probably an issue of concern, safety concern, that yes, this gadget could be doing this thing. Just the same way people really fear that thing of telling them, I will put this in your fuel tank and you will see your car will operate better. And you're thinking, yeah, for the first 1 month, and then my engine will knock on the third year, right? How do you address that? Because that's a huge concern. How do you address the concern that this thing is not harmful to my vehicle, to my engine, and then later to the environment?
Now, we have been talking to people, and the only way, because this is a fairly new product in Kenya, so we don't have historical data to say nothing has gone wrong in Kenya, but we're getting data from Italy, from Brazil, where the deployment has been heavy. But at the same time, we have certification, not just from Kenyan authorities, but from the EU, that has proven that this device is safe to use. And these are experts who test this, and they have various criteria that they use to test. So that's what we use to be able to assure people. And then we give a guarantee, we give a warranty. And one of the things that SafeTrack does as well, we deploy a lot of gadgets in vehicles, in engines, in machines, and so on. Whenever something goes wrong, we normally take it up because we've got professional indemnity insurance. There's once one of our guys went to install a simple AI camera in a new Range Rover, and I don't know what he did. He reset the program, and the vehicle couldn't start. We had to put it on a low loader from Mombasa, brought it back to Nairobi. I was like, I'm going to have to pay for this. And we sorted it out. So we do give those guarantees.
You know, one of the things that is interesting about change, it's not that what we refer to as a resistance to change is our reaction to something we don't understand, or we have questions about, and the questions we have haven't been fully responded to our satisfaction. Or when it is explained to us, it's not explained to us in a way that would resonate with us and that would make it easier for us to accept. Because for many people, the car is already functioning. I can see it functioning. It moves. And then you're saying, this thing which vibrates is going to reduce the fuel.
Yeah, and your name is not the manufacturer of the vehicle. Your name is not a big petroleum company, but you're telling me the price.
This thing is, I put it in my tank, and then it's going to.
Then I give you money.
And then I give you money.
I'm beginning to suspect that Charles needs. We must put it in your vehicle. But I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
So one of the things that we're trying to do, we've gone out there and we have a lot of presentations that we're doing to educate groups on how this works. And we're demystifying by going, first of all, for people that are leaders. You know, when certain people do something, others tend to follow. And to achieve that, we're doing it through, we have explained how it works, we explain what it will do, but the test of the pudding is in the eating. Let's
Yes.
do a POC. So we do a POC, a proof of concept. And that's how we've been able to, we've got quite a lot of sign-ups, but it's not as fast as we would like it to
You
be.
have an R&D division, eh? Okay. Perhaps you need to consider everything you're doing is fine, but there's always the little concept of what we call formative work. Formative work involves understanding what it is that people actually desire, what they understand about what you're telling them, and what it is they would find acceptable. Because nobody is going to refuse to reduce the cost of whatever it is they spend on fuel. No one will refuse. So it isn't the reduction that they are declining. Now, I cannot sit here and claim to understand what it is. We've talked about the fear of the unknown and the reaction to it. But since you have an R&D department, that information will tell you what it is that people are afraid of, because they are afraid. It's not anything else. Because imagine someone tells you, like I was told for the first time,
Yeah.
coming from the airport, that this vehicle I'm on uses gas. I told the guy to stop.
Not
Told
today.
you to get out.
I was looking at the gas cylinder in my house, and I was seeing this. I knew this car was going to explode.
Peter, as we
You.
conclude, people are asking, where can they get more information about this? Do you have a website? Do you have a platform where they can research? Because they say, okay, yeah, we want information based on research, not buzzwords, not. And what's the name of this gadget?
Supertech. We are going to, what we've done, we have not done what we call an official launch. We've just been doing marketing direct door to door. We are prepared collateral, and it's going to, we're going to have it on the website. We're going to have
What's the
animated
website?
www.safetrack.co.ke.
Safetrack.co.ke.
Yeah, it's not yet on. A lot of other products are neat, but this is not yet on because we're preparing the animated videos and all the other
The
material.
next big thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peter Echessa, thank you very much for joining us. He's a founder, CEO of Borderless Trucking and SafeTrack Limited. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation today. Tomorrow is Thursday. We'll be here, God willing. It's 10 a.m. Have a lovely day.